Summer is fading. The leaves fall in ones and twos. Philip Larkin's opening line of Afternoons immediately establishes the poem's central preoccupation with time's passage and the gradual erosion of vitality. In our contemporary age, where discussions about work-life balance dominate public discourse and where many young people delay marriage and parenthood, Larkin's exploration of domestic routine and the loss of individual identity within family structures feels remarkably prescient. Welcome to this excerpt from the A-Level Ahead seminar on Afternoons, where we will provide an overview of the poem, an analysis of stanza 1, an exploration of a key theme, and suggest some wider reading. Please subscribe for further poetry seminars and videos. Visit the website for access to the full seminar. The poem explores how Larkin uses the setting of a children's playground to examine the relationship between time, domesticity, and the erosion of romantic possibility. Here is the question that will guide our exploration. Does Larkin present domestic life as an inevitable trap that destroys individual identity, or does he reveal how time itself transforms all human experience regardless of the choices we make? Overview. Afternoons operates as a carefully observed social meditation in which Larkin depicts young mothers watching their children at play whilst contemplating how marriage and motherhood have altered their lives and identities. Written in the late 1950s, the poem captures a specific historical moment when suburban development and changing social expectations created new patterns of domestic life, particularly for women who found themselves increasingly isolated in residential areas designed around nuclear family structures. The poem employs 3 8-line stanzas written in free verse, creating what Andrew Swarbrick identifies as Larkin's characteristic technique of finding profound significance in ordinary social observation. The work demonstrates his ability to locate universal themes within specific contemporary settings, using the playground as both literal space and metaphorical territory where different generations encounter the passage of time. Larkin structures the poem through careful progression across time, moving from seasonal observation through domestic routine to broader recognition of how time transforms all human experience. The playground becomes a space where past and present intersect, where the mothers observe their children whilst unconsciously confronting their own lost youth and diminished possibilities. As Barbara Everett observes, Larkin consistently demonstrates his understanding of how social structures both support and constrain individual development, making Afternoons representative of his broader exploration of how institutional life shapes personal experience. The poem reflects the social context of 1950s Britain, when suburban expansion and changing family structures created new forms of domestic isolation, particularly for women. The mothers Larkin depicts represent a generation caught between traditional expectations of marriage and motherhood, and emerging awareness of alternative possibilities for female identity and achievement. Stanza 1, Seasonal Decline and Domestic Routine. The poem opens with compelling observation that immediately establishes the connection between natural processes and human experiences. Larkin begins with summer fading, using the colon to create a pause, which emphasizes how seasonal change mirrors personal decline. The image of leaves falling in ones and twos captures the gradual, almost unnoticed nature of this decline, not dramatic autumn storms, but slow, incremental processes by which vitality diminishes. This technique reflects what Stephen Regan identifies as Larkin's genius for finding metaphors that capture both external change and psychological process. The setting establishes itself as contemporary suburban development through the phrase new recreation ground. This adjective proves significant, representing post-war expansion and the creation of domestic spaces designed to serve nuclear families. The recreation ground becomes symbol of planned community life, offering designated spaces for leisure and child-rearing that reflect social assumptions about family structure and domestic organization. The mother's appearance creates an immediate visual connection between seasonal and personal decline as they gather in the hollows of afternoons. This phrase operates both literally and metaphorically. These are the empty hours between morning domestic duties and evening family routines, but hollows also suggests emotional emptiness and the sense of being trapped in psychological depression. The verb assemble implies both gathering and mechanical construction, suggesting these women come together not through choice but according to social programming. Their positioning at swing and sandpit establishes their function as supervisors rather than participants, relegated to watching whilst their children engage in active play. The alliterative conjunction creates rhythmic movement that contrasts with the mother's static observation, emphasizing their removal from physical engagement and spontaneous activity. The description setting free their children contains deliberate irony. Whilst the children gain freedom to play, the mothers become more constrained by supervisory responsibilities. For access to close analysis of the remaining stanzas, visit the website. Exploring themes. The purpose of this section is to take a step back from the close analysis of technique and to consider how you might shape ideas in a discussion or an essay. If you are studying a number of poems or poets, one helpful way of developing your skills in this area is to keep a theme tracker. This helps to see emerging patterns and contrasting concepts. It helps in producing a concise summary of main ideas, and it is really helpful in selecting which poems to discuss when you are given an essay or discussion task. Try tabulating, using a spreadsheet or producing a mind map for each theme as you embark on your studies. Visit the website to consider 2 other themes: time and lost youth and suburban life and conformity, along with many other features and poems. There are a range of teaching and learning activities available on the website. Just take a look at the books section for each poem or on the Downloads tab. The activities include creative approaches, suggested essay titles, as well as a range of interactive and active learning ideas and resources for the classroom. We hope that this video has been helpful in supporting your studies of this poem. On screen are a list of some of the critical sources mentioned in the video, along with other suggestions for further exploration. Thank you for listening, and good luck in your studies or your preparation.